is everyone this fine time of day?
Hello, hello.
Hey, what's up?
Not much, not much. Just making sure that we have the record button on the top left.
Yeah, it's
Where
there.
where it'll
I
go.
I see it now. Yeah. Last
Apologies,
time,
apologies
la-
for last time.
yeah, I only noticed it's missing when I click the leave button, like at the end, and then like I'm like, wait a second, what something is missing there?
Last week, I think I was too excited to be able to speak without a half an hour delay that I that I forgot everything else.
Yeah, yeah. So this time it will be recorded and official. And we do have a lot of things to discuss today. In general, we have like three sections. The first one is regarding the updates of what's happening and what's going to happen next week. Then we have a lot of questions to answer, and then we're going to talk about marketing, which is also one of the questions, a fairly recurring one, and we would talk extensively about this topic. Thanks everyone for joining in. It's been a busy week for Beam. We did quite a lot of development, so let's start with the updates of what is going on. So first of all, as you know, we are voting on BeamX allocation for both the DEX for the liquidity farming and also for Nephrite stability pool. And it seems that this vote is going to pass in Epoch 18. So what is going to happen is that, first of all, I think it will be tomorrow, we're going to launch the liquidity accumulation contract on the Dappnet. And obviously we will tweet about it and also post it in the Telegram so everyone can play with it, take a look at it, provide input. I think it's not the prettiest in the world, but then again, it's kind of one-time deal, and then it will, after the accumulation phase is over, it will transform into the staking contract where you can lock your LP tokens and get BMX as a farming reward. I think the mainnet launch for this phase is going to be next week, I think around Wednesday. So that's kind of, I think, leaves enough time to review the Dappnet version, get all of the issues ironed from out of it, and get ready. You know, everybody can prepare for the accumulation program launch. So just a quick reminder of what this means is that we are going to start a process of accumulating liquidity for the launch of the DEX Beam BMX pool at a rate of 1 BMX for 2 Beam. And whoever is joining in this early bird kind of stage is going to get a bonus, the early bird bonus for the liquidity mining. When you are joining, you will have an option to join and then immediately lock the LP tokens for the periods of 3, 6, 9, or 12 months. And each of these stages gives an additional bonus. We'll publish, obviously, for the launch, we'll publish all the details officially so you know exactly what you're getting into. Or if you don't want to lock it, it's fine as well. You can just specify 0 as the locking time, and then you will be able to withdraw this liquidity whenever you want, but obviously the reward will be a little bit smaller. So this is the kind of first step of the long-awaited DEX launch. Eventually will happen next week. As for Nephrite, I think like once the vote is finalized and the BMX tokens can be allocated, that will open the road to the launch of Nephrite as well. So this is regarding these two applications. All the rest of the development, like first of all, the desktop wallet. Desktop wallet is currently in the final phases of testing. We are already in the process of building the Dappnet version, and if you are, watching our GitHub, you will see, I think, the Dappnet version builds being created. So the Dappnet version is ready for testing, and it will be officially released in, I hope, tomorrow, but if not, then next couple of days. We still have some minor UI improvements that we want to add. This version, as you know, includes the support for the hardware wallet, the first version of the Beam Messenger, and also very important fix or improvement for the high frequency transactions. The high frequency transactions is the mechanism that is used in Nephrite application in order to be able to kind of send and respond to the changing conditions inside the transaction within the same block. So we don't need to wait for the next block in order to change the conditions. Like, for example, you are sending a transaction and then the price changes or some external event happens. And then instead of just kind of failing the transaction and having to wait for the next block to resend it, this update is happening within the same block time, which makes the kind of much faster response time in general for the application. The application needs to be able to handle these events. And we had a problem with some of those transactions failing unnecessarily. We fixed it. And it means that in order to be using Nephrite properly when it will be launched, it would be best to have the new wallet version installed on your machine. So we are currently finishing the kind of testing process and releasing the new wallet version. So everybody will be able to enjoy these applications at their best kind of best behavior.
Very exciting times and a lot of developments coming to fruition like in the very near future.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like everybody's working really hard on that. So just so you know, also the mobile and the web wallets are both currently in development. Unfortunately, don't think we will be able to release the updated wallet, mobile wallet in the next couple of days, but I hope that next week we will update the mobile wallet. It includes two things. Firstly, the updated wallet library, which has all of these new features and fixes that are needed for the mobile wallets to kind of be on the same level of functionality as the desktop ones. And another thing that we need to do is cosmetic, but important, is to update the resolutions for the decentralized application so they look good on the mobile wallet. This probably will take a bit longer, but we are working on that. The web wallet, as you know, have been completely redesigned from scratch following the changes in the Google API for the extensions. The way it used to work is no longer kind of possible under current Google Manifest version. So we have rebuilt it completely almost from scratch. And now we're in the final stages of kind of finding the bugs, and it will also be released. Now, it's very important because it will allow to access the applications from the web. Basically, you just open a page in your browser and you're in the DApp, then you install the extension and you can interact with this DApp. So I think it will be much easier to work with kind of these applications using the web wallet especially for people who are new to Beam and don't want to spend a lot of time installing and synchronizing the desktop wallet. So I think it will bring kind of much better initial engagement for new audiences. So this is happening. Another important update is about what we call the reverse bridge. It's the ability to move tokens, Beam and BeamX tokens specifically, from Beam to Ethereum and then use them in trading on Ethereum DeFi infrastructure. It's something that we have been talking about for a long time, and recently, once again, it kind of, I think, became more important to, like, yeah, you don't have privacy there, but you do have more liquidity and you do have a lot more users. So it's important to be able to expose new users to Beam, and it will make this process easier. So this is another development that we're very intensely and quickly working on to provide it. So yeah, that's happening as well.
That's wicked. And like you mentioned, with regards to the web wallet, it really kind of breaks down the barrier to entry for people entering the ecosystem. And one thing that we had a conversation about last week, I think it wasn't on the space, maybe on a call, And we're talking about this with regards to the DEX as well. Like really opens up the ease at which people can trade tokens, can provide liquidity, and all these kind of things.
Yeah,
And the web wallet takes that a step further as well, of course.
yeah. One of the things that we have been doing really kind of I don't know how to put it. I would say overprotectively at Beam is providing the most private but probably least convenient default. Like for example, when you download the desktop wallet and you just click like next, 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 the default options uh, enable and synchronize the full node inside the Beam wallet, right? So it takes 2 hours and or I don't know 2 days or whatever it takes. Like it takes a lot of time depending on your internet connectivity. The experience is as it's supposed to be, like you download the entire blockchain. But if you would just select kind of connecting to remote node, which is not the default, then it would be like in an instant, right? But on the same side, it will be a little bit less kind of secure because it will not run your own node. You will depend on a remote node to do the verifications for you. So this is always the dilemma when you are selecting defaults, like what to choose. And in Beam case, we have been always choosing the most protective, secure, and reliable options, sometimes at the expense of usability and good first-time experience, right? Because the logic we always used was like, okay, so you only sync the wallet once, and then when you use it day to day, like it's okay, but that's not really necessarily what's happening. And maybe we should have been doing this differently, right? So this is something that has always been the case in our selection of parameters. Which brings us to another topic that we will also discuss later. Like sometimes it's very difficult to understand what these options mean, and it takes a lot of time for people to really kind of figure out like what they should choose. So, for example, like if you're only using like I don't know a couple of applications, you don't hold really like large amounts of funds in your wallet. It's okay to use the remote node and save yourself the trouble of synchronizing the entire blockchain. And I think what we should do for kind of to amend this situation is to create these kind of small, I would say, like user guides, maybe even using video format, like we had like on YouTube, and just provide these really short videos, like what's the fastest way to install the Beam Desktop Wallet? What's the safest way? Like do this kind of educational material, which is the remark that we got a lot of times recently, and again during last week. So I think that would be a good idea. And we will talk more about that when we get to the marketing section. But now, unless we have something else to discuss, I would like to move to the questions because we do have a lot of them.
Yeah, sounds good. Do you want me to read the questions out, or are you happy to go through them?
No, it's okay. I'll do it.
Cool.
I'll do it. And I would like to start with the first one in the list. I don't know, like from the I don't know timeline perspective when it was asked, but it's kind of surprised me, or like it's an interesting question. So the question is like, I would like to know why some founders left Beam. Did you see this question?
I did, and it's a fair enough question and kind of an interesting one as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. First of all, thank you for this question, Dee, and it kind of made me go down the memory lane because earlier this month we sort of celebrated 5 years of Beam development, even though Beam was launched on January 3rd, 2019. The development actually started in March 2018, so it was 5 years. And a couple of things about that. First of all, 5 years is a long time. Personally, for me, it's the longest project ever, like in terms of years I have ever participated over my 20 years career. Like the previous one was like 4 years, but Beam is definitely the longest running, the most interesting, and the most engaging. And then I kind of started recalling all the things that we went through before we launched. If you remember being called Shitwimble and the scammers and whatnot, it was fun times.
Yeah. There was a lot of going ons prior to launch.
Yeah, it took us a lot of courage to open the source code in about like after 6 months of development or something like that. Uh, but yeah, I think like eventually we did prove that we're not scammers and everything was okay. But it was interesting time. So in terms of the founders, like I'm not sure exactly who to include in this group because over this really long stretch of 5 years, uh, Beam team has kind of changed from like one side, but also like mostly remained the same. And even people who were more engaged day to day previously and are not now, they're still around. They're still in contact with us, and they support Beam, even though they mostly work like other jobs as their kind of primary focus. Um, so definitely one of the people that was, I think, most noticed like was Alexander Zadison because he was very active in promoting Beam and being present at, as a face of the project at conferences and many other activities. He's fine if someone is asking, like he's great. We actually had coffee a couple of days ago. Uh, it's a funny story because his son is playing ice hockey, and in Israel there are only like two places where you can play ice hockey because it's basically a desert with some sea. And one of those places is located near where I live currently. So he was around, and we met for a discussion. He's currently at a project called VirtuSwap, which is an interesting project in its own right, and take a look at it. And we discussed a lot of things. Also, we discussed some interesting contacts that he had with companies that are doing bridges of all sorts. So he provided some introductions. So yeah, like he is definitely uh, alive and well and supporting Beam from wherever he is. There are some developers that left Beam relatively early, so there were some changes in like overall structure of the team, and obviously the levels of engagement changed with different kind of governance and funding possibilities that we had. So yeah, like things changed, but I wouldn't say like that's like founders left Beam. I like wouldn't qualify it like that because it sounds like somebody just got disappointed or left. So that's not exactly what happened. Most of the people that started this road back in March 2018 are still here with us, active, and you see them in the GitHub, you see them in the community. So yeah, like things did change obviously, but I think most of the starting team is still around. I hope this answers the question.
I think it's a great answer. I'm still trying to figure out the ice skating thing and whereabouts the ice hockey thing and whereabouts this is happening.
Oh yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, it's all the kind of there is no natural ice mostly anywhere in
No.
Israel. Yeah, and so it's all kind of heavily created and but yeah, they even have teams and they have. It was very funny because there is a gas station near that place when I go there for gas and to buy some things. And I walked into the gas station store, and behind me walked a guy dressed completely in the Calgary Flames uniform.
This is I'm going to assume this is a ice hockey team.
Yeah, it's a well-known ice hockey team. Yeah, and it was funny because it was so out of place, in Israel with all this heat and everything. But then I said, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, there is an arena here, and they're practicing." So yeah, it's funny. It's crazy what people are, doing anywhere. Basically, if you want to play ice hockey, you will find it, even if you are in the middle of one of the hottest places I've been. Yeah. So. Okay, so moving on, we have a long list of questions here from Galaxia. Uh, I will skip all the questions regarding marketing for now because we will talk about it in the third part of the space. Um, so, mhm. Okay, so one of the requests is to answer the questions from the last week's space. I'll see what we can do about that because there are also other questions, and even though it wasn't recorded, maybe I will just create it as an AMA or a typed version. Okay, so a good question is how long will the DEX accumulation phase last? So it's a good question. Like I was thinking about 2 weeks, but it's debatable, right? We can discuss it in the coming days. I think 2 weeks is a good period of time for everyone to be able to participate. I think 1 week is a little bit too short, and 3 weeks is a little bit too long. But once again, like if you have opinions on how long it should be, please provide it. If you have like any reasoning for it not to be 2 weeks, otherwise, I think 2 weeks should be fine. The Beam Messenger is almost ready, and it will be released with the upcoming version of the wallet. It's the next question. It is not, however, I would say, it's very alpha, right? It's very raw. We do have a lot of plans, or let's say kind of specific plans and things that we already know we need to improve, but we will release it because it's part of the version. But like it's very kind of first version, very raw, and obviously once it's released, all of the ideas and suggestions are welcome. But so like it's not like we're stopping there. It's going to be improved significantly, especially the UI and usability part. Some of it also has to do with the integration with the address book, which was neglected for a long period of time because of the address management kind of issues that we had. Like every time a new address was created, it was very difficult to record them. But now with the addition of the hardware wallet, we changed that. So you do have this kind of two parts of the address. We're still debating how to call them eventually because like the wallet ID, if you remember, this term was not a very good term. And now like Vladi has suggested to call it an endpoint, but it's a little bit too technical. Then I suggested maybe we should have an address and an envelope. Like we're looking for a word here because you basically have two different concepts. You have a concept of a signature that your wallet signs with, and then you have a concept of the specific delivery method for your information to the other wallet, right? So it can be SBBS, it can be Lantus, like offline address. Yeah, so like we're still fishing for a good term for this functionality. But once we nail all of this down, the experience will be much better because you will have a distinct difference between the identity that your wallet or the signature that your wallet uses for signing those messages, and that's the signature that is verified by the hardware wallet, and then the delivery method, which is SBBS, and there you can create new addresses, as much as you want without changing necessarily the signature that you use, and that will be verified by the hardware wallet. That's kind of the dilemma we're currently in. Okay, so I did update on the status of the web wallet and the mobile wallet, which was the next question. And I also did update on the status of the wrapped beam on Ethereum. It's work in progress, moving on very fast. Yeah. Okay, so I think this answers most of the non-marketing related questions. The shader SDK was a question from Beam Assets. They asked about the status of the shader SDK. Once again, it's there. It's on the GitHub. It's not very, I would say, necessarily complete or easy to use yet, but it can be used. Obviously, we do need to provide better kind of examples or like more tutorial-like examples, not just like here, take this contract, look how it works, but kind of a more step-by-step tutorials. And one of the things you guys suggested last time we talked was to like make hackathons like for Beam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a great idea, and I think we need to do that. But what we need to do, learning from the experience of previous hackathons that we try to do with various companies, is to make it much kind of easier in terms of like what is required to participate. Because we tried to do something like write a smart contract from scratch or something like that. It didn't work. what we need to do is to basically provide a working smart contract with good explanations, comments, examples and all that, and then ask participants to modify it or to add UI or like front ends for it. It was funny because I discussed it with Vladi and he said, yeah, but UI, it's so difficult. And I'm like, no, like for you, maybe, but for most people, writing the contract is difficult and UI is kind of simpler because it uses more well-known technologies and, more. Yeah, it's funny how you evaluate things differently depending on what your point of view is.
For sure. Personally, I would find both, I guess, equally difficult.
Yeah, but it's still something that I think most developers are like more familiar with in terms of the things that they have already seen in their life than just diving into Beam smart contracts, which are completely new and different.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Yeah, so this is also kind of a part of good marketing, because when you are able to attract developers, you both get awareness in terms of like what is it you are doing here, and you also give people a good way to express their creativity in kind of building things with Beam and for Beam. So I think we would love to repeat this kind of hackathon experience, do it a little bit differently, learn from our previous mistakes, and I hope that the result will be better than the last couple of times we tried it.
Absolutely. And like you said, I think making like the kind of targets or goals more defined and giving like a little bit of like example or head start and like working on top of something that's already there would be a good like strategy initially as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that having a good kind of working example to start with, simplifies things and makes them much more manageable. But by the way, like, this is how most developers learn these days, right? You dive into a new framework or ecosystem or programming language, and you just take some working examples, you play with them, you modify them. That's how you learn. So yeah, I think we can do that. Let me see. Okay, so once again, there is a question from Beambots about the ERC Beam 20, which I did answer, that we're working on this reverse bridge, and EVM support is also work in progress, but it will take more time, obviously, to complete. I really hope it will be ready it will require hard fork, and it will be ready around summer, like in 3 to 4 months. Okay, the last question is also a good one that we have mentioned a couple of spaces ago about the transfer of the treasury from Beam Foundation to the DAO, and when it is going to happen. So as of now, I think it will take another month for that to happen, mostly for all kinds of bureaucratic reasons. But it's definitely happening. Regarding the numbers, I think that they were mentioned today in the community channel. But yes, like the situation is more or less the same as I have updated last time. It's about 1 million liquid and 1 million maturing beams in the treasury. So that didn't change significantly over the time that we last talked about it.
This is cool. And with like, just to make it clear for everyone listening, when the beam is in like the treasury contract and controlled by the DAO, this will be able to be like allocated for bounties or for funding for different things and this kind of stuff, right?
Yep, absolutely. So I think the simplest way would be to do it using online voting. Basically agree on the allocation amounts for specific goals that we would like to achieve. Yes, and then just allocate the beams and use them for good things and beam success.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay. So let's move for a second to the marketing. Not for a second. Let's move to the marketing part because I think we did answer most of the questions that I had in the list at least. If I didn't miss something, please let me know. So what I suggest we do is to create another channel in Telegram and call it something like Beam Marketing and BizDev Task Force, right? And invite everyone who wants to be in it and participate. And the idea is to create a list of really specific things that we want to do on the marketing front. So yes, we are totally in the situation where we have completed most of the infrastructure development and launched most of the applications that we have been talking about and promised to launch. So once we finalize the decks, and as you know, we have already upgraded the DAO contract, we have started voting online, like all of these things are happening, which is great, and we're moving forward and making progress. Without obviously, changing anything in our development plans, but we can now completely focus on marketing because, as everyone said many times and completely correctly, like without awareness and without like bringing new people into the ecosystem, it will not be possible to create any additional traction. And we saw that it's not happening by itself anymore. Obviously, not in this climate and market. So what are the things, or like what are the topics that I think we need to discuss? And I would like to separate it into like several categories. So first of all, mentions like whenever like there is a discussion or a mention of I don't know things that are related to privacy, things that are related to other projects in this space. I think we can participate and we can kind of piggyback on these communications, whether they are on Twitter or in Telegram channels, and create engagement through these channels. So in order for that to happen, we need, first of all, somebody to bring this to our attention. Like here, listen, they're talking about Zeno now. I do have, by the way, a lot of questions about Zeno. So if somebody is, I know a lot of our community members are also active in Zeno, so I would love to get some information about like what exactly they're doing and how, in DM or any other means. But they are obviously doing a good job on this kind of awareness front. So let's say they are launching, I don't know, confidential assets. Okay, so we can come and say, yeah, we had that as well. Here, try it out, right? So this is the first thing, right? The engagement through participating in relevant conversations, commenting in threads where these things are kind of discussed, and things like that. Okay, so that's kind of the first point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so the second topic is trying to get into articles, basically, right? So there are several ways to do it. We can write our own articles. It's not a simple or easy process, but because we did that for a long time, and it takes time to write a good article anyway. But still, sometimes there are kind of either things in general about, I don't know, privacy, for example, that we can write about and then promote these articles. Or we can try to get into publications. Once again, we don't have a huge amount of funds to get into featured on CoinDesk. Actually, I don't think there is enough money in the world to get Beam mentioned positively on CoinDesk. But still, but maybe not CoinDesk, maybe like kind of smaller websites and publications that talk about crypto, talk about privacy in general. Some of these may take kind of lobbying or knowing the right people or getting noticed somewhere. So this is also something that I think with together with the community, like we all can try to tackle. Writing to specific people that write about these topics, right? Because I know that a lot of people that are talking about privacy are, for example, heavily into Monero, but I think they will be interested in kind of expanding their view, maybe learning about new things. So we can say, listen, would you like to talk about Beam, like show the demo or whatever, like whatever it takes to engage with the people that are writing about these subjects and get them to write about Beam without it costing like too much. Like not just direct advertising, but rather more organic mentions. So this is the second thing, like the content. Also in the content track, as I mentioned, I think we need to create a better educational material because even today, by the way, I was surprised because we did get a positive feedback from, who was it from? Like from um, this website where we're doing the quest, the crew 3, right?
Crew 3, yeah.
And we did get a positive feedback that like it is relatively clear what Beam is doing, and but still, like I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, or like provide some feedback about it, that if somebody just stumbles on a mention, like how much effort does it take to understand what this project is about, right? Is it clear what Beam is from the website and I don't know the resources that you first encounter about Beam? Or maybe we need to do some additional work to create a better introductory materials. Like, okay, I just heard about Beam. What is it, right? Explain to me in 5 minutes. Give me a better kind of road to engage, right? Okay, now I do want to try it out. Like, what do I do? So this is something that we kind of neglected previously, but now we do have, and especially with the updated web wallet, we will have more opportunities to create an easier engagement path, and we just need to structure it correctly and get more feedback and really create this user journey when somebody completely new to Beam comes, creates a wallet relatively quickly and does something engaging in terms of like using the DApp or participating in something. We do have all the tools, we just need to structure them correctly. Okay, now about the Beam technology. So we do have a lot of interesting technological features, developments, and like things that we have done which are unique to Beam. Once again, I don't know like the audience size, but in terms of like understanding what is Mimblewimble, how it works, what's Lelantus, what's the relation between them, right? I do hear those questions every once in a while coming from different channels, and this is also something that we can improve by creating this small or short, let's say videos like of about 5 minutes. Like not in long term, like long content format, but rather these kind of, bite-sized like chunks of information that explain in a few words, like what's the technology, how it is used, what is it used for, right? So that's also the idea that I think can be explored and implemented during these marketing efforts. And obviously, like any other ideas that keep floating around, co-marketing, co-promotions, like integrations, collaborations with other projects, like all of these things, I think can be productively used in our marketing efforts. Yeah, so this is kind of the scope or the outline of all of the things that we can do. So let's get around to to discuss it. Maybe have like, as I said, I will create a separate channel, and everybody's invited, like who wants to participate. And yeah, the goal is obviously to uh, let's say bring it to the situation where we no longer say like, oh, we don't have any marketing, right? So we do want to explore all of the veins that are currently open to us, and try to increase awareness about BIM, because yeah, like everybody feels the same, that we have a great project in our hands, and it's just not well enough known, not popular enough, and does not engage with enough people.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that comes to mind is like I've totally forgotten the saying now, but like together you're more powerful than like going alone kind of thing. And I think this will be good for like for Beam is if like the community members that are already posting a lot of information on Twitter. I mean, I see D, Jared, Galaxia, Maxim Flaxidle, which is the most difficult name to say. Beam bots, Beam assets, like all putting lots of awesome information out about Beam and spreading the word and this kind of thing. And I think like a further step on this would be to come together and like have some kind of, like you mentioned, task force that can really like nail down exactly what we need to do, how we can do it, and execute it from there.
Definitely, yeah. One of the things that I think all, are very interesting, like for me personally, but in general, is trying to reach to organizations and projects that are not just in terms of like DeFi or financial operations, but rather non-financial applications that are interested in privacy. And for two reasons. First of all, I think Beam today provides a lot of tools, including the way that our applications are created and can be integrated with many different services that can be useful for these organizations. And I'm talking like communities, voting applications. Like for example, recently I spoke with some project that is doing kind of community, I would say, what you call it, like it's not exactly a forum, but rather like it's a group of communities that are representing like people from different places, like but with a common goal, and they do want to have this voting application that is reliable and at the same time like anonymous. So this is something that Beam can provide as a service, and I think it will also increase both the awareness about Beam, but it also will serve a good cause of helping these projects that really need reliable privacy in non-financial applications. So if you ever hear about such projects or such communities, I think we can like talk to them and try to offer solutions based on Beam. I think it will be beneficial for both sides. Not I'm not talking about criminal organizations, just so you know, and just people with all kinds of privacy needs around the world, which are not criminals. There are quite a few of those. And yes, I think that can be interesting to look into these like non-financial applications in this direction. That can be also a potential venue to explore.
Absolutely, and this is something that came up in convo last week as well, about like the more projects that we have that are building on top of Beam, Beambots, Nephrite, the couple that you've mentioned that you've been in communications with about coming over and building on Beam. Like the more of these projects that we have, the more that they're going to amplify the efforts that are going into marketing from our end as well, and get the word out more on Beam and this kind of thing.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's what we need to do. So let's start doing it. Without a lot more discussions. Um, it's important to know that the focus is on like specific, actions that we can take. Once again, there is no like magical something that we can do which will just make Beam known to everyone at the same time. It's definitely a series of steps. You know, we have been doing over these 5 years a lot of different kinds of efforts in what we call marketing. We did have a lot of content that we provided and wrote, and videos that we did, like a lot of things that we tried. We did not find a kind of good, efficient working way to promote ourselves. Even when we did spend money on marketing, like when we had it. But once again, the situation changes. There is a huge difference between marketing in a bull market and marketing now, when, as you know, crypto is under very severe attack. Probably, I think the heaviest one, as long as I remember. So yeah, like it's kind of both a problem and a blessing, because from one hand, it's getting more difficult for people to obtain crypto in many places, but also it brings the point of decentralization, I think, and privacy and all of these other things that the people tend to ignore in good times. It brings it to the surface and makes it kind of more, I would say, obvious, like why you need it. Uh, I think decentralization and privacy being the two most obvious ones following the recent events. Yeah, so it's kind of a mixed blessing, I would say, right? What's going on right now. Uh, on one hand, on the other hand, still crypto is very much alive and developing. A lot of things are happening, and in general, the discussion I think around crypto is second to none, in at least in the financial world. Now banks started falling apart, so yeah, they kind of took some attention. But in general, crypto is everywhere for good and bad. So yeah, it's a interesting time to be operating on or in.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, I don't know, but
1 second,
I
you. No, I don't hear you well. Something happened.
can you hear me okay now?
Nope. Oh, Gus is.
Uh,
Yeah,
Hello.
now you're back.
Okay. I don't know what happened. Now I've totally forgotten what I was going to say.
It
But
seems you're blocking the microphone in some way.
uh, is it okay now?
Yeah.
Okay. All I was saying is that, like, whenever like one thing happens, whether it's on the regulatory front or something else, it seems to happen in like a big wave. Like it's never one thing in solitude. It's like multiple off ramps getting hit and staking getting slapped by the SEC and all kinds of things like at the same time.
Yeah, what you're saying basically, when it rains, it pours, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I have officially run out of the, I would say, scheduled topics for discussion or things that I wanted to mention. So now we still have 10 minutes that we can use for either asking more questions if you have them in any way you would like to ask them, whether it's Twitter or uh, Telegram, or here just clicking on this request to talk button. Or we can just talk about Doc One and whether it was really him who was arrested in Montenegro. So it's your choice, your call.
I have a question regards your last point. What was he arrested like? What was this Do Kwon named individual? Whether it's like the crypto one or not? What was he arrested for? Do we know?
Honestly, I have no idea.
No, neither.
I don't even know how it works. Like, and what are you doing in Montenegro? Like, if you are being, I don't know. let's say you are expecting or suspecting that somebody wants to arrest you. That like that's what you do. You go to Montenegro. What are you, James Bond? Like what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, like to quote the man himself, he's not hiding.
Yeah, that's also true. Like, but if he's not hiding, like, why did it take so much time to arrest him? I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like a crazy like couple of years in crypto. I feel like we compared to like 2017 and 2018 and 19 and this kind of stuff, the last few years have been like a whole lot bigger and crazier and like weirder and wilder things happening.
I don't know if it's a general trend or just us getting older.
Yeah, true.
But yeah. By the way, there is a question uh, in the Beam community channel on Telegram regarding the web wallet for Firefox. So from what I know, it should work seamlessly with Firefox because Firefox, I think, supports Chrome like extensions, or am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong.
Um, I
Yeah.
haven't I haven't used Firefox.
Yeah, no, I'll check about that, but from what I remember, it should work for Firefox as well. In any case, if it doesn't work out of the box, I think it will be not simple to adapt because the architecture is very specific to Google Chrome. But once again, like it should probably work with any Chromium-based browser. Let me answer it like this. So Brave, obviously Chromium itself, and any other browser that uses the same engine. Um, Probably even Microsoft Edge, or what's it called, the new Explorer that nobody uses. Did you
Oh,
see, by the way,
yeah.
there is this great uh, mental outlaw. He has like a lot of things. He has a YouTube channel and he talks about uh, hacking and all other topics, but he's really great. And he had this video about how when you install a fresh copy of Windows and you open Microsoft Edge, because obviously it's installed by default, and then you are trying to download Chrome, it tries to convince you not to do it. And it's like really bizarre and crazy looking because you go to a Chrome like download link to website, and there is this like ad that appears in the browser which says, Don't download Chrome. You don't need it. Like, look, Edge does. It uses the same technology. It does exactly the same things." And then like it tries to like every step you take to download Chrome, it tries to convince you not to do it. Did you ever? Are you on Windows? No, you're on Mac, right? So
I'm on Mac, but
yeah.
I don't like no specific one comes to mind. But the first thing I thought of when you started mentioning this is like some Monty Python sketch.
Yeah, that's what it looks
I'm not
like.
sure. Yeah,
It's unbelievable. And the thing is that it's not like it's like very specific and it's built into the browser. So it kind of tracks where you're going and that you're about to download Chrome, and it's trying to tell you, listen, you don't need to do this. Stay with Edge. It's all good.
yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah, but obviously, everybody goes and downloads it anyway and uses Chrome for some reason because yeah, it's not the same.
Microsoft has also struggled like with Bing. I don't think anyone, at least like anyone in the West, I don't know anyone that uses Bing, the Microsoft search engine.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't used uh, Bing probably ever.
I used it for many years because I was in China, and for some reason I didn't have a VPN, so I couldn't use Twitter or Google or Facebook or any of these things.
Oh, but you could use
Which
Beam. That's
was kind
interesting.
of nice. Yeah, yeah.
Unbelievable. Okay, that's cool. I think we accidentally started a browser holy wars in our community channel because now there is a discussion of which browser is the best. All of them are great, and yeah. Anyway, okay. So listen, we will be wrapping up, I think, today. I will create this group for marketing task force. My first thought was I was reviewing my notes, and then I saw that somewhere I wrote that I wanted to call it a Beam ecosystem expansion research, which is abbreviated as BEER. But yeah, I don't know if it's a good idea. My names are sometimes kind of not the best ones. Yeah, I tried to to call the asset interest scam, which probably was not a good idea as well.
This was not met with too many smiles. There is a question that just came up that I think can be quickly answered, and it's from 8-Bit Path, and it said, "Is there any update on LaserBeam, and any thoughts on layer 2 Lightning type tech this works with Beam?"
Yeah, so for those who don't know or don't remember, LaserBeam is a Beam implementation of the direct payment channel technology, which allows you to create a funded channel between two wallets and then exchange funds very quickly, like with zero confirmation time over this channel within the amount that was funded in the channel. And it's the same exact technology that Lightning Network uses. The only thing which is kind of missing in Beam implementation is the routing inside those channels. And the reason it's missing is that this routing, it's very complicated, not to implement, but rather it doesn't work very well. So the laser channels are there, their own production, like on Mainnet, you can use them today. We did not invest too much in kind of expanding this because like I always had a problem with kind of figuring out how this works at scale. The way it does work today, where it works, is using this thing called hub and spoke architecture. Basically, you have a large hub that has a lot of channels to smaller kind of wallets, and it holds a large amount of funds to fund all of these channels, and then it rebalances funding internally, right? So it requires this kind of large organization that everybody connects to. It does not work well in a more kind of balanced and decentralized network. So just to summarize, like, yeah, like we do have this technology, it works, it's on mainnet. We did not invest like in creating the network around it, like the Lightning Network, but it can be done theoretically. Like we can talk about it if somebody wants to experiment with it or create some applications on top of it. Also, now that we have in my opinion, much better layer 2 solutions like rollups, either optimistic or ZK, I think these technologies are more promising in creating quick like fast transactions or speeding up or creating micropayments, for example. I think these technologies are better. But by the way, we were officially invited to a hackathon, but it's in October. Like there's a lot of time, but it's organized in Denver, I think, but I'm not sure, by some Monero community. And it is in cooperation with Lightning Network and some companies that work in this space. So this is something that we have received, and we're like thinking about what we want to do there. One of the things that we can do is like use our laser channels to create some interesting applications and then submit it to the hackathon. So that's definitely a possibility. We'll send some information about it.
Very cool.
Yeah. All right. So let's wrap it up. Thanks everyone for being here.
Oh, a question.
Yeah.
Do we have a word for the crew 3 joining the Twitter space?
It's a great question. Do we?
This is it is a great question, and I am under the impression that we do, and I'm gonna locate it and speak very slowly while I do locate it. Give me 2 secs.
No problem. I wonder if anyone managed to write it down the last time. I think yes, right?
Yeah,
Somebody did.
I think so. Yeah.
The problem is that we don't have a way to send something to just everyone who is in the space because Twitter obviously did not provide us with that option. So you will have
Yeah.
to suffer through writing down what Gus says in a second. Did you find it?
No, I cannot.
Is it this like 54GIJPST8B? This one? I think it is. Let me verify that. Let me send you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
So let me repeat that. It's 54 GIJPST8B. 54GIJPST8B. Good luck, everyone.
Good luck. Thank you all for joining.
Yeah. So thank you and see you next week.
See you guys.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.